Hi, my name's Caroline and welcome to the Talking Circle. Today we're going to have a wee chat and just a wee introduction about what advocacy is, and today I'm sitting with...
I'm Claire from Circles Network.
I'm Anne-Marie from Circles Network.
So I think probably we can hear a chat about our generic service first. What do you think?
Yeah.
That's a good start, yeah.
So I suppose we could start off by just talking about who can access the generic project.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because we've got quite a lot of people that can fit into that service.
Yeah, that's true. Everybody, well, not everybody, but
it's quite varied.
A good part of the community anyway.
Yeah.
So our remit in Fife, obviously we cover the whole of Fife, and we work with people over the age of 16. Some people we work with have mental health issues, physical disabilities, chronic illness, acquired brain injury, personality disorder, dementia. Am I forgetting anything?
I don't think so.
No, I think that's the list, isn't it?
Yeah, we also work with people under 16 as well, but only if they're subject to compulsory measures under the Mental Health Act.
I was in a shop the other day and there was a boy and I had a headache and I needed to get some more and stuff, and he says, "What is it you do? You're a social worker?" Because he saw my badge there, and I was like, "No, I'm an advocacy worker." "Oh, what's that?" And I had a mini explanation of what that was, and he went, "My doctor doesn't listen to me, could you help me?" And I was just like, well, if you fit in your health remit, then yes, give us a phone.
Did you leave my card?
Yes, I did.
Always raising awareness.
Yes. It's in our DNA, I think.
I know. But it's amazing, like when you say that, it's amazing because obviously a generic service, it supports people to understand their rights in terms of certain legislation. But then the biggest part of it is for people to have their voice heard. And it's amazing how many people you meet, know even in work, and they're like, they didn't feel heard.
Mm-hmm. People don't often realise how important that is, just to be heard by somebody, anybody. There's some people out there that nobody listens to at all, and they're constantly being told they should do this, do that, do the next thing, but nobody stops to say, what is it you would like? Simple as that. It's a wee bit human dignity. What would you like?
That's just such a big part of our role, listening to someone's story, where they've came from, what issues they're having, and not judging them, and just listening to them and saying, what is it you want? Because we don't give advice or tell people what to do. It's about, well, what do you want to get for this? Because what might be seen as the best way to go is not always what the person wants.
That's true.
I know, and I think for people who didn't know what advocacy is, or people out there who didn't need services, didn't really understand how important it is when major things happen in your life and all these different people get involved, social workers and health professionals and all these different people that want to make decisions, like you say, in the person's best interest, but actually what does the person want? So I suppose that's it's important, that's where your role comes in.
Yeah, because oftentimes people actually don't think about, or they miss the point that if you as a person have had input into your issue and how to resolve it, then it's more likely to have a successful outcome than just be, well, somebody told me to do that, so I should do that. Whereas if it's came from you, you're like, I think that's a good idea, then that's more likely to be successful, I would think, if I'd been part of it.
And I think unless like there's a crisis, like within that service, it's if somebody's been detained under the Mental Health Act, or maybe somebody's due to health, their capacity is changing and they're not managing at home as much, maybe the AWI Act, or like an adult at risk, adult support and protection. If you're just going along life and nothing, there's no crisis happening in your life, you might never ever understand what that's like. It's when something like that happens, like when you're taken into hospital against your will, you've had your liberty taken away, people want to make all these decisions for you. It's important to have somebody like us that's independent, even like you say, just to listen, without judgment, without making an assessment, without saying, you need to do that, you need to do this.
I think that's the biggest part of our role, to listen to someone.
Yeah. Because you often get professionals as well. I mean, they do a fantastic job, but they're so busy sometimes that they forget that maybe the patient's got a point of view that may differ from theirs, but it's at least worth listening to, you know, and it gives the person a wee bit autonomy over their own situation, you know, and makes them feel a wee bit better about themselves that they've had that wee bit of input. You know, whether it's listened to or not, at least that maybe gets them an explanation of why that's not a good idea. So sometimes just even explaining can be, you know,
helping
right
with
way to
someone's
go.
understanding of something. If for example, the doctor's, he doesn't feel the doctor's listening, like that boy you met in the shop. Is it that he's not understanding what the doctor's relayed back, and maybe we can help with the understanding part of that
Perfect, yeah.
to make sure he's got all the information. It could be that the doctor maybe has listened but has a different opinion.
Yeah, that's true.
But he's not feeling heard, so is it that he needs support with understanding, or is it just he's genuinely not feeling that he's been heard and needs some support to put his views across?
Yeah.
Or sometimes, like, you know, yourself, somebody may be unwell and didn't have the confidence to attend certain meetings or appointments, so therefore they want advocacy to go along to express their views because they're not in a place to be able to go along and be in attendance themselves because of whatever situation they're in. So and then coming back, like you're saying, and relaying that information back to the person.
Yeah.
And the person will be able to contact you, go, I forgot what we said, so we can then relay it again as many times, so if the person's not able to, for whatever retain information is.
They meetings can be so overwhelming if there's a lot of professionals involved, and it's the thing of, you always say like, oh, I went to the doctors about something and I forgot to say this and I remembered as soon as I came out. Whereas we meet with people before all these big meetings and before they're feeling overwhelmed by that in that moment, and it just makes sure that, you know, they've had the chance to express all their views, and we've written it down and we've made sure that they've brought up everything they want to bring up.
I think it also allows people to feel sort of calm. You know, when they're in meetings, the fact that they have somebody sitting next to them that they know is independent from everybody else sitting at the table, and they're only there to help you put your views across, you know. And I think you often see in their faces it's such a relief, you know, that they don't have to go through that themselves, because some people, their way of reacting to that kind of pressure is just to, you know, to kick off, to, you know, get upset, to leave the room, whatever, because they're upset by something somebody said. Whereas the advocacy worker is there and they can sort of say, well, look, let me ask them what they actually meant by that. You know, whereas a person never feels able to do that themselves, you know.
If you think about it though, and I think about it a lot sometimes, like with my own life, I find it very difficult to advocate for myself in my private, in my personal life. Like go to the doctor sometimes, like, oh, I wish I'd said that, and I didn't say it. So it is much easier to advocate on behalf of somebody else because you're not emotionally involved. But it's very difficult, not for everybody, but for some people to say. Sometimes I find it very difficult to say how I feel about things that are going on in my life. Whereas I find it's so
easy to do for somebody else.
Easy, I didn't mean it like that, but it's so different to advocate for somebody else. Because you're not emotionally attached to what's happening.
And I think you feel, me personally, I kind of can feel more passionate supporting somebody else than I do about my own feelings. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of, you just sort of sit back and think, oh, well, it'll sort itself out. Whereas if it's for somebody else,
you want to get
you're
an
like,
outcome.
no, I'll get that. We need to get that across, you know. And so that is a big thing, actually.
And you can understand why people get frustrated when they're trying to express their own views. If they didn't feel they're being listened to, or they feel like, you know, that they're not going to take on board what they want them to do, you can see why they would get frustrated or angry or upset or whatever. But like you say, because we're detached, we can quite easily express people's views and have that conversation on their behalf.
And so obviously some of the issues we work on with people it's highly emotive. It's involving their lives, it's involving decisions that could change their life or
Major
change how they're
changes.
living their life. Like if we're working with someone and perhaps it's through the children's hearing process, you know, any decisions that are made there has a massive emotional impact on the parents that we're maybe supporting through that, or we're working with someone and it's been decided that the best thing for them is long-term care. They're going to have to leave their home. They may have to move to a care home. Their whole life will change. And it's we've discussed it before, like we're constantly amazed by the people we work with. Like what they've been through, their stories, where they've come from, how they're handling situations, and just going along that journey with them sometimes.
And then we're a strange person coming to meet them to say, you know, we can support you with this, because there's, like you say, for somebody potentially who may be having to move into long-term care because they're unable for whatever reason to manage at home on their own anymore. And it's like we're just a strange person rocking up and saying, hiya, I'm here to support you if you want me. And people are 99% of the time like, absolutely, yes, that would be great. Which it does surprise me sometimes because it is major life-changing things that are happening in people's life, and they're like, yeah, come on in, let's have a conversation and I'll tell you how I feel and what I want to happen. It does surprise.
Proves the point, just asking that question, how do you feel? I'm just here to help you, let people know how you feel about your situation. How kind of instantly sometimes that builds that trust that you need for them to allow you to go forward and support them, and for them to really open up, you know, because for us there's no pressure. You can tell me as little or as much as you want. I don't want or need to know your whole life story. I just need to know, what's this issue and how is it affecting you? And if you want to explain everything to me, that's your choice. You know?
I think choice is the big thing. You just said about choice. Like, we're there by someone's choice. We're not saying you have to engage with us and you have to use advocacy. We're saying, do you want advocacy? Like, do you want to speak to us? It's entirely your choice. And that might be the only choice they have at that on that day. And I think that builds trust quite quickly, because they're like, well, you're not here with any agenda. You're just here if I want you to be here. So
And I think because we're not part of the decision process either. And we don't assess. We don't make any, we don't give an opinion. That probably helps us as well, because by that point, Nick and yourself, there's lots of people involved in somebody's life, and they've all got an opinion and they've all got a thought on how the person's life should move forward, where we didn't have that at all. So I think that does help.
Oh yeah, massively. And if all it helps, from my point of view, if it only helps the person to feel a bit better about themselves, then my job's kind of half done then. Do you know what I mean? That's for me a big part of it. I want somebody to feel better, and that somebody's gave them that wee bit of time and dignity, and sort of, you are a human being, your voice matters. You know, it should matter to somebody anyway.
And I think because in advocacy we don't always get the outcome that the person wants. Sometimes we do, but a lot of the time we don't, you know. Like, for instance, if somebody's been detained under the Mental Health Act, we're not always successful in supporting that person to have their order revoked and for them to leave hospital. It doesn't always happen, but a lot of the time people are just really happy and grateful and thankful that we've listened to them. A lot of the time it's a lot of the people I've worked with, it's like, thanks for listening to me, thank you. So I suppose that's a massive part of your job, is really listening without judgment, without that stigmatising or it's just listening and letting
and that's the
talk.
big thing as well, is like we go into lots of different people from different backgrounds and ethnicities, and it's like, for me, human beings are human beings, and that's how it should be, really. It's, you know, nothing like that should. And if, you know, we often have communication things we have to overcome, not just languages, but, you know, if somebody's deaf or if they're blind, or, you know, if they have a learning disability or whatever, we always try to go that wee bit extra mile just to make sure that they've had as much opportunity as they can, just to kind of to communicate.
Yeah. And there's all the resources that we can pull on. And
we're quite lucky because we have like quite a lot of professionals for different disciplines, and like they contact us and say we've got this, and you can tap into this training. So we're quite good that way, that that there is different professionals and different disciplines that all get in touch and say, or that we can tap into training or resources. And
other services are really helpful as well. Like we've had, I've attended visits with speech and language therapists before. They're always willing to help facilitate communication where maybe someone's had a stroke and that it's their communication that's been impacted by that. And it's not that they're overstepping and taking over, it's just that they're giving us maybe, they've worked with that person, they know how best to communicate. They're just imparting their tools onto us so that we can take that forward.
Makes all the difference, you know.
And I think obviously we're independent, every other service, but we do work together quite well with different professionals in terms of making sure that people can access the service, and like you say, that if they have communication needs, that we're all working together to try and make sure we're overcoming the communication needs to make sure the person's able to access advocacy.
Absolutely. So like I suppose that's what I mean by the speech and language therapist, not overstepping that barrier, but being able to facilitate that so we can then take that forward as independently
as possible.
It's just about exploring all avenues, isn't it, at times? It's, even when it comes to old issues, it's exploring all the avenues and which way you can take something. And we might not get the outcome, but if we've explored all the avenues, given all the options, got all the information, people will be disappointed sometimes if they don't get the outcome, but they can... We've passed on that information so they can see, like, this is all the places we've been with this is all the things we can do, and really we have exhausted all the avenues for them and for that issue.
If you would like to know more about Circles Network Advocacy, the links to their website and Facebook page are in the description. They can also be reached on 01592 645 360. The Talking Circle was presented by Caroline Haddo, Claire Cargill and Anne-Marie Pocock. It was a Jacket Pocket Media production for Circles Advocacy Fife.